In 1944, an Allied patrol stumbled upon something rather odd deep in the Carpathian Mountains, an abandoned bunker sealed tight under ice and rock. Inside, they found a wooden crate marked only with a faded insignia, a skull within a circle. What they uncovered later became known among collectors and historians as the Phantom Regiment Survival Kit, a compact, meticulously designed box of tools and formulas intended to keep a single soldier alive for weeks in sub-zero conditions, entirely off-grid. Before we uncover what was inside and why it still matters today, make sure to subscribe to Backyard Wisdom, where forgotten fieldcraft, war-born inventions and real survival knowledge from the past are brought back to life. The origins of the Phantom Regiment and why their survival kit was different. The so-called Phantom Regiment was never officially listed in Allied or Axis documents. It's believed to have been an experimental unit of scouts and engineers trained to survive behind enemy lines in Arctic or Alpine conditions, often cut off from command. The men weren't just soldiers, they were survivalists, taught to adapt using minimal tools, crafting everything from heat sources to food preservation systems out of whatever nature offered. The survival kit found in that bunker reflected that philosophy. Every piece served multiple purposes, emphasizing self-sufficiency and field improvisation rather than reliance on supply chains. The kit included a small collapsible alcohol burner, 2 tins of concentrated fat-based rations, a tin of lard mixed with graphite for lubrication, and fire-starting a waterproof waxed wool sleeping wrap, dried spruce resin, and a glass vial labelled only as blood sugar extract. It was both practical and ingenious, each component serving at least 2 roles. This level of design foresight is what modern preppers still try to replicate. The heating method that required no fuel. The most fascinating piece was a clay metal heating puck coated in graphite. When broken open and mixed with a small amount of snow and a pinch of the provided resin, it triggered a slow exothermic reaction, producing low, steady heat for hours without flame or smoke. The chemistry behind it was, well, primitive but effective. Powdered iron, salt and carbon reacting with moisture in the cold air. Today, this is actually the same principle behind modern hand warmers, yet these soldiers were carrying it, 80 years ago. A modern adaptation can be, replicated with fine steel wool salt and a damp cloth sealed in a metal tin with small ventilation holes. In cold camping scenarios, this creates safe, flameless warmth inside a shelter. Those who understand the science behind it can even use it to keep water unfrozen overnight without burning through wood supplies. The forgotten rations that doubled as medicine. Inside the survival kit were 2 tins labelled only as winter fuel. Analysis later showed that the contents were made from rendered animal fat, oats and a dash of saltpeter. That's the same chemical found in curing salts. These rations provided over 2,000 calories per tin and could be melted into broth burned as lamp fuel or applied to cracked skin to prevent frostbite. This shows a deep understanding of resource flexibility, something most modern emergency kits, they tend to overlook. Anyone crafting their own winter survival supplies can use this same principle. Prioritize items that can serve more than one purpose. A jar of ghee or animal tallow, for instance, acts as both food and protection from the cold when applied to skin or boots. These were lessons soldiers learned through necessity, not theory. Perhaps the most impressive feature of the Phantom Regiment's techniques wasn't in the kit, but in the instructions tucked inside. Written in several languages, the sheet explained how to dig a shallow trench, line it with spruce boughs and pine needles, then cover it with wax cloth to create a ground barrier. The final layer, a thin layer of compacted snow, acted as a reflective insulator, preventing heat from escaping while the snow outside froze solid. This, you see, reversed the common mistake of trying to sleep directly on snow. Instead, the method cleverly used nature's cold to trap warmth, making survival just that bit more likely. The same principle can actually be replicated today by layering dry vegetation or even cardboard under an emergency blanket. The science behind it is quite simple. Dead air space acts as insulation, and, well, layers help reduce thermal loss. Hidden beneath the rations was a small folded tin whistle and a deck of waterproof playing cards. Now, at first glance, these might seem rather trivial, but psychological endurance was honestly as vital as warmth. Commanders in those conditions knew that isolation and cold broke the mind before the body. The whistle allowed soldiers to locate each other in storms, while the cards provided structure, something familiar when the world outside turned to chaos. Modern survival psychology continues to echo this. Carrying a mental anchor, whether a small tool, a note or a ritual, keeps discipline sharp when fatigue sets in. It's a lesson that remains as relevant for modern adventurers as it was for those men in the frozen wilds. Why the Phantom Regiment kit still matters today. What makes the Phantom Regiment survival kit legendary isn't mystery. It's how practical it remains. Every element reflects human adaptation at its finest, compact, multifunctional and timeless. It shows that survival isn't about having every gadget, but knowing how to make one item perform 5 tasks. Whether you're camping out in the wilderness, living off-grid, or just, preparing for the next power outage, these wartime principles really do apply directly. Efficiency, simplicity, and, the ability to think ahead. Those are what separate endurance from failure. The legacy buried under the ice. That crate, preserved for decades in permafrost, was more than just relics of war. It was proof that, honestly, true preparedness comes from knowledge, not abundance. The soldiers of the Phantom Regiment understood that the environment could be both ally and enemy, depending on, how you treated it. By applying those same lessons, using natural insulation, multi-purpose materials, and, small psychological tools, anyone today can build a survival system that lasts. No batteries required. If this deep dive into forgotten WWII fieldcraft sparked your interest, go ahead and subscribe to Backyard Wisdom and share this video with someone who values real, proven survival knowledge. The past still has lessons to teach, and in the quiet of that frozen bunker, those lessons remain alive.